Hey guys, it's Gemma. Thanks for coming back to my channel. I'm literally sitting here in my pajamas with a glass of wine. It's a Friday night, I've just finished work. I was really tired driving home from work and I was just kind of like, well, I've been thinking about getting back to my paranormal channel for a while. It's been about a year, and my friend Catherine, who is a subscriber, who I became friends with on Facebook, she's been like, why don't you start up your channel again? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, I'm not really sure about it and stuff. And she was like, you should. So I was just driving home tonight in the car and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna get on camera and talk to you guys. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for everybody's support on my Psychic Cats video. I put out a video about, I don't know, a year ago about cats and the spirit world, and it just went crazy. It's had like 40,000 views, and my videos usually only get like 100, 150 views. At first it was like, oh, I've had like 5,000 views, and then I checked it again. I kept on getting comments and comments and comments, and everybody wanted to tell me their story about their cat. And then it was like 30,000 views, and then it was like 35, and I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. So I don't know how that got so popular, but thanks for jumping on board. Yeah, I just wanted to get on here, really just keep it chill. I just wanted to keep it chill. I just wanted to talk about kind of where I've been for the past year or so. When I started this channel, and excuse me, my husband is watching a really noisy Star Trek film. If you can hear that, I'm not sure, but it's pretty noisy from where I can sit. So when I first started this channel, I had just moved back from the UK and I was in a very lonely, lost place, and I needed something to keep my mind on something. So I decided to teach myself how to use Premiere Pro, and I just started making videos about paranormal because paranormal is one of my favourite things in the world. And then I just didn't expect it to get popular. And you know, I've only got about 500 subscribers, and to a lot of people that's a very small channel, but to me that's quite significant. And I really enjoy the supernatural family and the paranormal family on YouTube. Even though I haven't been making videos, I still watch a lot of videos. Beyond Creepy is one of my favourite channels. I really enjoy the Paranormal Scholar, because she does kind of similar ones to me, like a voiceover and, you know, that kind of creepy voice kind of thing. Crystal Leandra, who's kind of moving away from YouTube at the moment, her channel was called Ghost Girl Diaries, and I think she's a really interesting person. Mr. Nightmare. There's just so many great channels. Matt Santoro, I'm a big fan of Matthew Santoro. He's not exclusively a paranormal channel, but occasionally he'll do like spooky videos. Anyway, so I just wanted to sort of fill you guys in on sort of why YouTube has been an on and off thing for me. So I taught myself how to use this movie making program, I made a few videos, and then my life sort of started to come together in real life. And as my life came together, I sort of said, I didn't say goodbye to YouTube, but I kind of let it drift away. And I do regret that. But it's definitely something that I would like to get back on board with. Anyway, so there's a new series that I want to do, and you may kind of find it dumb, but it's based around this book here. I don't know if you can see that. It's a really old book. The pages are literally falling out. It's falling apart. I found this book on the side of the road when I was walking home from school, when I was in about I must have been in about grade 2 or 3. It's an old library book. I probably should have just taken it back to my school library, but for some reason I didn't. And it actually says here, 30th of May 1989 was the last time that it was taken out of the library. And there was another book with it, which was also another paranormal book. And I just kind of like got the impression that for some reason someone has just thrown these books on the ground. I'm not sure if maybe some kid got it from the library, shown their mum. Maybe their mum was really religious, threw them on the ground. That's kind of where my imagination takes it. But this book is kind of responsible for me really getting into the paranormal. It's called Strange Unsolved Mysteries by a lady called Margaret Ronan. It's got a really spooky front cover. It at one point was laminated and it's just all air bubbles now. It's so old. And I wanted to basically read the book. Chapter by chapter. I want to read you the book. The book that I believe really honed my interest in the paranormal. So I guess I was going to read it. I was going to read my favourite chapters first because there are chapters in here that I have read over and over and over again. And I think the one that I want to read you... Oh, this is difficult. There's so many good ones in here. And there's actually a couple in here that I have made videos about on my channel, such as the Curse of Rudolph Valentino's Ring is in here. And also the cat that I mentioned in my Psychic Cats video is in here as well. The one that sat by its owner's grave here in Melbourne. That one is in here as well. I think it's called The Grey House. Horror in the Grey House. This is the one I want to read you guys. Okay, page 107. Alright, here we go. I hope you guys don't mind this being so casual. You know, it's just like, I just wanted to sit here and it's Friday night. I just wanted to sit here with a glass of wine and read my book. And I may as well share it with you guys. Alright, here we go. The Horror in the Grey House. Ghosts aren't always found in old castles or deserted mansions. Sometimes they turn up in ordinary neighborhoods like yours or mine. Take the grey frame house in Detroit, Michigan, for example. It's just an ordinary, pleasant-looking house in a quiet neighborhood. A house that could be said to have no personality at all. But no one wants to live in that house anymore. The owner doesn't even want to rent it. Why? The last tenants could tell you the answer. They were Lillian and Bill Adams. They rented the house because it was close to Bill's job. Bill Adams worked a night shift and had to sleep during the day. For that reason, he decided to move into the small back bedroom. It was in a quiet part of the house where I wouldn't be disturbed by the sounds of children playing or traffic. I had used the back room for about a week when I began to have horrible nightmares. These dreams were so real that I'd wake up limp with fear. I'd find myself sitting up in bed, screaming so that my throat was sore. In one of the dreams, I opened a door and a horribly disfigured body fell out. Things got so bad that I told my wife I'd have to go to a psychiatrist if the dreams didn't stop. The dreams did stop because Bill moved out of the back room. Life in the Adams household settled down to an easygoing, peaceful routine. Then Bill's grandmother came to stay for a few days. Because the back bedroom was the only spare room, we put her in there. Bill remembers. I didn't mention my nightmares to her. In fact, I had almost forgotten them. But the next morning, my grandmother showed up at breakfast, pale and shaky. She said she hadn't been able to sleep at all, because all night she heard noises, as though someone were trying to claw his way into the room. Yet each time she turned on the light, there was nothing to be seen. She decided to cut short her stay and go back home. By this time, the Adamses had decided there was something very wrong with the back bedroom, but they avoided discussing it. The room stayed empty until Patterson, Bill's cousin, stopped by on his way to the West Coast. To save the expense of a hotel, he asked if he could sleep in the back room. To this day, Patterson says he has never forgotten his first and only night in that room. I didn't know anything about the place. My cousin hadn't discussed it, and there was no reason for me to be afraid. It was the night of October 27, and Bill went off to work shortly before midnight. I decided to retire a few minutes later. I had lain there facing the wall for just a few minutes when something turned me over. Don't ask me to describe the feeling. All I know is that something rolled me over, so I faced the bedroom door. A woman was standing there with her back to me. At first I thought it was Lillian, but then I saw the woman seemed much older, and she had long grey hair hanging down her back. She had on a fur coat, a blue dress showed below it. For some reason I began to shake. I wanted her to turn around so I could see her face, but at the same time I was afraid to see it. Then I thought she spoke to me without turning, in a kind of a hissing voice. She seemed to be saying, "Come here, come here." I felt as though I was being pulled out of the bed towards her, and I screamed as loud as I could, and every light in the house went out. In the dark, Patterson knew that no matter what happened, he had to get out of that room. He ran into the kitchen, where he bumped into Lillian Adams, who had heard him scream. Suddenly the lights went on again. At that moment, according to Mrs. Adams, a horrible wailing sound came from the back room. I have never heard anything like it in my life. It literally seemed to make our hair stand on end. Then there was a terrible, sickening smell, and the door to the back room opened and closed with a bang. Thoroughly frightened, Mrs. Adams called the police. They searched the house and yard, but found nothing. When Bill Adams came home, Lillian and Patterson told him about their experience. "I still couldn't believe there were such things as ghosts," said Bill Adams, "but I suspected someone was trying to scare us out of the house for reasons we didn't understand. I decided to set a trap for whoever it was. I'd spend the rest of the night in the back room, pretending to sleep, but ready to grab the first joker who showed up." Bill Adams went into the little room and lay down on the bed, leaving the door open. From where he lay, he could see Lillian and Patterson sitting in the lighted front room. The back room was dim, but enough light came through the door so he could still make out objects. I was getting drowsy when I heard a sound in the room. I thought it was Lillian, and I started to tell her to stay in the front room so I could get this thing settled once and for all. I turned over to look and saw an old woman's face just a few inches from mine. The eyes were staring past me. The mouth was moving as if she was trying to talk, but no words came out, only a hissing sound. Then a terrible stench seemed to spread through the room. How he got to the front room, Bill Adams doesn't remember. He was almost hysterical with fear. But his description of the thing he had seen reminded Patterson of the woman who had appeared to him. "Was she wearing a blue dress and a fur coat?" Patterson asked. Bill shook his head. He'd only seen the face, and the memory of it made him shudder. Lillian was staring at Patterson. "I have a blue dress and a fur coat," she said. She went to her closet and pulled them out. "Those are the clothes the old woman wore," said Patterson in astonishment. Suddenly, Lillian dropped the garments. A ghastly smell had begun to seep from them, the same smell that had sent Bill running from the back bedroom. This was the last straw. The Adamses decided they would not spend another night in the grey house. They packed up and left in the morning, after arranging to stay with Lillian's sister, Virginia, and her husband, Leo. Virginia was skeptical about their story. Probably a rat died behind the wall, and that accounts for the smell. The rest has just got to be imagination. That evening, she and Leo went to the grey house to investigate. Leo was laughing about Bill's spook, said Lillian. He said, "I think I'll make the lady's acquaintance." He went to the back bedroom and lay down on the bed. Then I heard him give a terrible groan. He came running out as white as a sheet, but he couldn't tell me what had happened, just grabbed my hand and dragged me out of the house. When the owner of the house heard his tenant's story, he asked the police to go over it from top to bottom. Nothing was found to account for the smell, not even a dead rat. Was it a ghost that appeared in the back bedroom? If so, why did she put on Lillian's dress and coat? These are questions that still puzzle Lillian and Bill Adams, questions for which there are no answers so far. Today, the grey house stands empty and boarded up. Strangely enough, many people have asked to rent it for the night so they could sleep in the back bedroom, but the owner has refused all such requests. The house, he feels, is better left empty, except for the thing that haunts the back bedroom. Okay, so that is the first chapter of Strange Unsolved Mysteries by Margaret Ronan. And hopefully you'll stick around for this channel for when I read some of the other chapters. And I don't know if you guys prefer that I just sit here and read to you. Depends what kind of mood I'm in, I suppose. Or if I do like a voiceover with pictures and things. Anyway, thanks for sticking around and listening to me rambling, and thank you for all my new subscribers. It really means a lot to me, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!